Hi, this is StrategyCast, where smart marketers and bold business thinkers share the plays behind brand breakthroughs. I'm Lori Jones, President and CEO of Avasec Communications. If you're looking to make your account-based marketing faster, more scalable, and truly personalized, today's episode is for you. Nate Skinner joins us to share practical ways AI can supercharge your ABM programs, helping you connect with key accounts at the right time, with the right message, and at a scale you never thought possible. We'll kick things off with how you can start using AI to drive speed and deeper engagement in your ABM programs right now without losing the human touch.
A competitive edge starts with strategy, and strategy starts with knowing how to develop one. StrategyCast is a leading marketing podcast that serves up strategic insights, trends, and tips to help separate your business from the pack. Tune in weekly as host Lori Jones interviews bold marketing leaders who have priceless wisdom and are willing to share. Each episode explores cutting-edge approaches that have proven instrumental in transforming brands into industry trailblazers.
Welcome to the show, Nate.
Thank you for having me, Lori. Great to be here.
I tell you, this is such a meaty topic, isn't it? I love it.
Yeah.
Anyone who's not using ABM as a part of their marketing communications approach, I think really needs to tune in and listen to this. And even those listeners who are using ABM, we're going to share some incredible insights today. Before we get there, Nate, tell us a little bit more about yourself and your journey.
Yeah, thanks, Lori. I'm Nate Skinner. I'm currently the CMO of AffiniPay. We are the world's leading payments and solutions provider for legal professionals and accountant professionals. I've been here for about a year, not quite a year yet. And I have worked for 16 years now in marketing across Amazon, Oracle, Salesforce. The last company I worked for was called Onfido, which was fraud prevention and ID verification. We sold that company to Entrust last year, 2024. And here we are. And so we have a lot of opportunity in front of us, and we're excited to support our over 200,000 customers with strategies that help us reach them in a very specific way.
Well, you absolutely succeed there. There's no doubt about that. I'm interested, you've worked with some very, very large enterprise brands. And really, Salesforce is one of those who's, really wrote the book on ABM, quite frankly, from a technology standpoint. How have you seen ABM transition throughout the 15 years that you've been at the helm of marketing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I remember, I think it was like 2016 or so, the kind of hype cycle of ABM was really at its peak. I remember going to B2B, I forget the name of that conference, but it was a Forrester like B2B marketplace. And it seemed like every vendor there was an ABM vendor out of the blue and overnight. And so that's not the answer to your question, but I think what's been fascinating is how much progress has been made over time. Back then, 10 years ago, ABM was this like one to few technology and process approach, right? So you had, the Pareto's rule or Pareto's law about 20% of your customers make up 80% of your revenue. And so if you're especially B2B, you look at that, find those big customers, whether it was 10 or 100 or 1,000, and say, let's do ABM for them.
Yeah.
And that was like basically the playbook. Figure out your account-based marketing strategy for those critical strategic lighthouse accounts. The evolution, what I've seen happen since, and the capabilities and technology and all the Gen AI capabilities have made it where it doesn't have to be one to few. That an account-based marketing approach can be like thousands of accounts. We can personalize and engage accounts at a scale that we just never could before. And so it goes beyond lighthouse accounts and goes to kind of like, well, let's treat everybody with a personalized experience. What if we did that for everyone? That's kind of the evolution I've seen.
Like, why not, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And really, personalization and technology has been the driving force behind making that happen.
Yeah, right. And at scale, right? So like you could back 10 years ago, you could personalize it for a couple. If you were trying to sell to GE or GM or one of those, the Fortune Global 2000 or something, you would spend the money and the time to build bespoke web pages and web personalization and unique campaigns just for those accounts, but it was a huge lift. Now that same exact workflow can be done in minutes and at scale for any number of accounts. So you can engage, in our business, for example, we sell and provide services to small, medium-sized legal firms and accounting firms. These can be even single, solo legal professionals who just do, cases one at a time. We can reach them with the same kind of specificity and personalization that we used to designate only to like a GM or GE.
Yeah. It's so interesting. I think one of the holdups a lot of brands have with ABM is just how much true one-on-one relationship building should be a part of the mix versus the tech stack. Do you have any advice there? Of course, advice there, but what is your advice there?
Yeah. Well, this is interesting because that question also applies to like Gen AI adoption, right? Yeah. It's not a technology question. There is technology. I mean, it's everywhere, right? And every week it seems there's something new that you can go take a look at in the Gen AI world. I think the question should start with, what are we trying to do?
Right.
And kind of what I would talk to my team about a lot is outside in versus inside out. So if we think about the customer's perspective, what are they trying to accomplish? What are the outcomes they're trying to deliver? Who are these people? Because at the end of the day, whether you're a B2B marketer or a B2C marketer, the person that you're trying to market to is a human being. What motivates them? What challenges do they face? If we start there, then you start to work back to, wait a minute, I could do this and reach them and tell them about how we can help them in a very unique and personalized way. Now let's go look at what technology can help, right? Let's talk about if we used ChatGPT to create content, we do that. If you use Sora to create design elements and have it be fast and rapid iteration, we could do that. Use something like Closed to do win-loss analysis. Are we hitting the mark? Are these folks understanding what we can do for them or not? Those are all automated solutions to help you scale.
Yeah, I love that. This dovetails with what you've just said there. What do you think are the biggest friction points of ABM before AI entered the picture?
Most of the technology required a very specialized, someone who had grown up as like an admin or a really power user of this technology platforms. There's a lot of them out there that kind of made hay in the ABM, tech platform time. And so that was a friction point. It's like finding someone who knew how to use it and then developing a strategy that helped you say, well, when we reach them, this is what we want to say. This is the journey we'd like to take them on. And that orchestration was often, a pretty technical skill set.
Right.
It also took way too much time. Like we wanted to be able to build, for example, web personalization at scale. I might want to, in our business, we have, a couple 100,000 users of our technology. And those people represent firms, like I mentioned earlier, solo firms or, up to 100 employee kind of mid-sized firms. And we want to be able to create a personalized web experience for all of them. Well, doing that is a programmatic thing that doesn't require those skills. But the friction point now is, well, who does that? And at what point do we stop? Do we do it for everybody or just some? And what do we say to all of them? Because they're not exactly the same. We have immigration attorneys have different needs and outcomes they're driving than a personal injury attorney. So how do we scale and scope it to the right, level? That's actually the friction point now. It's like you can go so fast and overwhelm our customers with very inconsistent messages.
Well, and, enter stage right AI search, which is really changing, I think, the playbook for a lot of ABM marketing today, just based on, what the AI tools, what the questions are going into the multitude of AI tools people are now using to search, a vendor for X. What are you seeing regarding AI search and its impact on ABM?
Yeah, well, the first thing we're seeing is there's no consistent verbiage related to this, right? Some people call it AEO, answer engine optimization. I've seen it referred to as AI search. I've seen other things. So point number one would be, it'd be nice if we had a common vernacular for what we're talking about.
It takes a while to get there, isn't it?
Yeah. But put that aside and let's just call it answer engine optimization, whether that's Perplexity, Grok, or Gemini, or whatever. Yeah. What we're seeing is a lot of people. Well, the first thing we're seeing is organic search clicks is dead.
Mhm.
Like if you're measuring your organic search capability as a company,
Google and Bing, for
right?
instance.
If you're measuring your, let's just use a very specific example. Your audience will know this. I'm probably naysaying this for no reason, but if you have in our business, it's like the best payments platform for a legal firm. If you search Google for that, it's going to now just show you a bunch of firms or solutions that meet that criteria, and you won't have to click anything.
Right.
And so where we used to measure organic search in terms of click volume and seeing it go up, that click volume's gone. Like you're just not seeing that. Instead, what we're seeing is a lot of direct traffic improvement. So when we see things like when it says, in our case, that same search, like a payments platform for legal professionals, LawPay is our product. Now we're seeing LawPay direct traffic go way up because people see the answer, then they open another tab and type lawpay.com.
Now, are you moving those sort of tactics to top of funnel?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we need to show up in these large language model search engines in those top placed search results, and then give them a reason to believe that we're the best answer. And that is a strategy that's taken on a whole new meaning, right? It's off-property things, it's third party, it's G2, Capterra, it's even Reddit and Substack. You have to show up in all those places for the most of these LLMs to actually represent you appropriately. And so it's no longer just a content, domain authority or authority page approach. You have to actually augment it with a lot of other tactics.
Yeah.
But it's important because it's more and more predominant. I mean, LLM search is going like this and Google search is going like this.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's even, it depends on what the person's searching, right? Like if I want a new Mexican restaurant for a business trip, I'm going to use Google for that. If I am looking at a tool for our tech stack at the agency or a client tech stack or just information on, an industry, I'm going to use chat for that. I mean, so
it's interesting because everybody's use cases are different. I mean, like that's interesting you just said that. I actually asked the other day, I was sitting next to my coworker, our chief product officer, Leslie, and she went to search something and she used Google. And I said, I know she uses ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Grok. I know she does. So I said, hey, why did you do that? I'm just curious. And it was like, kind of to your point, Lori, searching for something like a Mexican restaurant, it's just easier to open up Google Maps and do that.
Yeah.
But I'll give you an example of where this has changed everything. Remember when we used to look on WebMD, like I have a sore elbow, what's going on? And you go to WebMD and type, pick your picture of your elbow and then find. Yeah. Now you just open up ChatGPT and say, I have a sore elbow and it looks like it's bruised. And it will literally tell you all the things it could be and then ask you the next set of questions like, is it inflamed and red or is it not? And if you say it's not, then it's like, actually, you probably have this and it's probably not a big, it literally tells you all of the answers and continues the conversation. You don't get that in like a general search.
Well, you don't. And if WebMD is smart, what they're then doing is they're optimizing those questions so that they show up in that search, hopefully with a URL as well.
Yeah. Well, I hope so.
Yeah. Well, we're starting down that path with a lot of our clients. So we're just scratching the surface. How has how have you used AI specifically with your team to really dive deeper into personalization?
I mean, every aspect of it. So for like when you talk about personalization, ultimately what we're talking about is audience-centric messaging and then a journey that we can put them on. It assumes we understand where they start, but also understand they might start their journey in the middle, they might start at the beginning, and they might start very close to the end. And so kind of like a whole, if you watch all the Avengers movies, you can actually watch any of them and not have seen the others and still make some sense of what's going on. We need that to be true in our journeys. And so we use AI to generate content and copy as a first pass, we instantaneously, here's what we need, and it just writes the stuff. We use products like Clay to help us create orchestrated AI journeys that we can then execute, automatically. We're a Marketo platform, marketing automation platform house. So we use Marketo and they've got some interesting AI stuff in there as well. We use Crayon to help us infuse competitive understanding into our messaging. So we have like crowdsourced competitive insights, and we'll use that to synthesize, stay away from these words, focus on these advantages, that, how we differentiate ourselves in the market. So we use all those things to inform that kind of personalized journey for our customers. What Gen AI helps us do is do it much, much faster and with more intentional orchestration. We bring all those things together in a way we couldn't really do before.
Are there any misconceptions or perceptions that you've seen peers in the market talk about regarding AI's use in ABM?
I'm sorry. So one more time. Any what about AI?
Any misperceptions or misconceptions regarding AI's use with ABM?
Yeah, I think the misconception I've seen vendors talk about with AI for ABM is that it makes it all easy. Like it's just let it go. That's not true. Almost with anything, right? Like even everybody talks about marketing content, marketing design, marketing demos. We use Storylane to prompt, I need a demo of this, and it just builds it. All of those things are really accelerate our ability to innovate quickly and get stuff done fast. But all of it requires a professional human who understands the problem and the customer to verify that it's right, that it's going to say what we'd want to say, that it's using our voice and our tone, that it's not misleading, or because if we lose trust, we're dead, right? Especially for us, our customers are legal professionals and accountants. Like if they find out or they feel like you've like hoodwinked them, they'll never come back. So we have to be really eyes on the wheel around that. And my point is, I've seen a lot of ABM kind of AI storytelling, like, oh, it just makes it automatic. You don't have to do anything. That's not true.
Yeah. I think the human element is what I think it's the biggest misperception of AI's use is the human IP, the human intellect that is still very, very important in anything that we're doing. But what it does do is, again, you mentioned this at the onset of the show, is it's speed to market. It just helps us personalize that many more, messages for an audience really in real time in a lot of situations.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you think AI's place is, how is it matured as a part of the ABM stack? You've mentioned probably a dozen tools today, and you've obviously gone through a lot of trial and error, probably at least threefold to get down to those tools. Are there too many tools? Is there one that you use 90% of the time and the other 15 are just 10% of the time, but it's the icing on the cake for you?
Yeah, I mean, specific to ABM, we are trying to make our capability as scalable and thin as possible. We don't have an ABM team. We don't have ABM experts. We have people who understand our customer, understand what we're trying to do with them, the outcomes we can drive for them. And then we want to execute personalized programming for those people at scale.
Right.
That means this tech stack needs to be thin and easy. If it's heavy duty and requires admin and really slow or slows us down, we're like not interested in that.
Right.
That being said, where we get a lot of value is in creating a model, literally our own model, and saying, this is our customer, and this is our voice, this is our solution book. We have I actually have a whole like positioning and messaging audience guide that we've written, our product marketing team put together. We feed that into our own ChatGPT instance, and it knows then what to say and how to say it, and it gets us 80% of the way there.
Yeah.
What that frees our team up to do is the last most important bits, to make sure it looks perfect, that it's on message, and that it's scalable. We use user-led for the web personalization stuff. Like our sales team, our SDRs could be talking to, Lori downloads a white paper or hits our pricing page, and our SDR, our sales development reps who work our inbound leads, they could send you not only an automated email through outreach or whatever, but they could also include in that a link to a personalized website that is like lorijones.com.
Right.
And /AffiniPay. And you would see your firm and your logo and your kind of what you looked at, browse the pricing page, downloaded an ebook, all on a web personalized page. Our SDRs can build that with user-led. Like it doesn't require IT or anybody in the web team. It's that fast. So
that's fantastic. What advice do you have for listeners today who maybe have a much smaller client base. There are only 40, 50, 60, 100 potential clients for them in the United States, and their use of ABM and AI as a component.
I mean, look, I did that before, and what we did, and my advice would be build an account specific strategy.
Yeah.
So if it's Johnson and Johnson, what does the buyer committee look like? What are you trying to sell them? What outcomes are they trying to drive with your solution? And build literally a marketing strategy for that account.
Right.
It's only 100. Why not? Right.
Yeah.
Like if you got 100 accounts and if you win all of them, you're where you need to be, then why not take the time to literally, and by the way, use ChatGPT to help. I mean, if you become good at all in prompt engineering, and there's plenty of these courses out there, it can get you really far down the path of creating a strategy for each account that then you just take, tune, and execute on. That was my number one piece of advice. Give each one of them its own unique attention and think about them like they're unique humans, because they are.
And all these personalized, I mean, they're still going to go online as part of this. So all the personalization strategies are still at play, just at a smaller scale.
Right. But it's even more important to get it right, because you only have 100. If you burn one, now you got 99, right? You can't, you have so many opportunities to show up in the best possible way, and there's only 100. So take your time to get it right.
Yeah. It's interesting. We've seen a lot of tools. We've been doing this a long time, right? We've seen a lot of tools. I mean, think about print, think about direct mail, think about,
billboards.
The billboard principle in general. I mean, think about all that and just how they wax and wane. And do you still think there is a place for a lot of direct communication via snail mail, via obviously trade shows a big component where we're always going to need that, but a lot of, print, what advice do you have for our listeners today regarding the mix of those sort of things as a part of the approach?
Yeah. I mean, again, it's probably got two parts. The first part is it should be a component of the journey you're trying to take a customer on. It shouldn't just be random. Like if they visit the website and you explain what you do, and then the next thing you do is send them a Yeti, that doesn't make a lot of sense, right? But I mean, I'm making that up, but like, this seems a little weird that I get a Yeti after I just checked out your website. But if you've spoken to us and you've trialed the thing and you've looked at it and you're not there yet, then a introduction of a gift or a direct mail piece that really talks to their journey so far and how you can help them get over the line. It's a great time for something like a direct mail piece. But again, it shouldn't be random, and it should be very well thought about in terms of the customer. Sending somebody a bag tag who never travels is not the right move, right?
Yeah.
If you know your customer, they don't travel, they don't need a bag tag. I mean, it's just kind of a lost. Now, sending an attorney a very nice cross pen to say, can't wait to sign the deal with you once you've decided to move forward, that would resonate. And so, I think there's always going to be a place for direct mail, but I think what we can do now, and Gen AI is at the heart of making this possible, we can do that at scale and be thoughtful about where to introduce those tactics.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think people get so attached to trend that they forget about and tech that's driving trend, that they forget a lot about the basics that are so important to really developing a relationship.
Lori, you almost said the same exact words I just said about a month ago to my team, which was, we're going to focus on customer obsession. We're going to focus on how we help our customers understand that we can help them. We can solve problems that they have. We can help them grow a thriving business. We're going to focus on that. All this other stuff is just distraction.
Yeah.
If we say, hey, you know what? Here's a great example. But I mean, let me go back to your point. I think what I agree with wholeheartedly, I can't say it enough, is we can't lose sight of the fundamentals.
Right.
What I just said, the same thing you said. It's like the blocking and tackling. Understand the customer, understand their challenges, and use the technology to give you scale, reach, capacity in a way that you couldn't before. That's the job. Let's not lose sight of that, right? Otherwise, we're going to be distracted. You made the comment earlier about so many tools and so much. And you look at it, 2 or 3 or 4 things that seem to do the same. My observation is there's a lot of features out there They're not like platforms or products. They seem like features.
Yeah.
And we need to be careful not to introduce a bunch of one-off features that we then deprecate later because you could have done that with something else, right?
Yeah, I love this business. It's why I've been doing it for so long. And I know you too, because of the constant change. And we'd be so bored if we were still in the Mad Men days. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my gosh, let's get this moving.
Yeah.
I love that part of this. And it's why this agency stood the test of time, is because constantly evolving, adapting, and setting trend ourselves. But there's a nuance here I think that's really interesting in a day that trust is at its low point. And you take a look at the Edelman research. I mentioned this a few times on the show, but to me, it's so relevant in everything we do day in and day out. So Edelman comes out with a trust factor research study. Trust is at an all-time low for everyone, all human beings on the face of this earth. They don't trust their government. They don't trust nonprofits and NGOs. They don't trust the media. Business is in the very right-hand quadrant of the trust factor because it's so important. And people, it's the only thing that they can believe anymore is, businesses and the messages they're putting out. However, I think that personalization can minimize trust because it comes across in such an unauthentic way. Every email we get now says, Dear Lori Sartorius Jones, Dear Lori Jones. They don't, what are you going to call me? I know when it's an automated AI tool sending me a message because they're not calling me by what they should name me as. That lessens my trust for that brand. As a matter of fact, I immediately push it aside. Goes into the book of what not to do from a marketing standpoint for my entire team. What are you seeing there?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, I always caution my team against, we are kind of on the very edge of adoption of these advanced technologies. That doesn't mean everybody is. So
right.
You've been doing this a long time. You get emails, you're like, that's automated. You can tell.
Yeah.
But most people may not know that. And they actually may not know that you can automate an email. I mean, I have to remind, we're not all in the technology business, right? That's a small bubble of humanity that's in this world. And it's even smaller, those of us in MarTech and this space that you're describing. So cautionary tale number one is not everybody can tell. But cautionary number two, which I 100% agree with you, is if you violate trust in the experience at any point, people will go away and they'll never come back.
Right.
So if you have an email that goes out and it says, Dear first name, you're dead. You're dead. It's never coming back. So we people talk about cultures of if it's okay to make a mistake, just don't make the same mistake twice. If you're in we're in a mass, our target addressable market is very large. We have thousands and thousands of customers and have the opportunity to get even more. If we have something like that happen and it goes out to 50,000 human beings that are all legal professionals, we will never get another shot at those people.
Right.
So, I think that's where the trust is more important than ever, and it makes the scope of errors smaller.
It really does.
Yeah.
And there's a human element. So let's go back to that scenario where, there are just 100 potential clients for a company.
Yeah.
The human element becomes so important in that situation that trust factor must be deployed and taught and really become commonplace for how all those individuals end up interacting with the brands as well, or all is lost. It has to be an even playing field for what the human is delivering and what the AI and MarTech stack is delivering.
100%. I mean, that's why I said, if you only have 100, take your time with each one. And by the way, if you recall, I said, use ChatGPT to build the plan. Do not use AI to necessarily execute that plan. I mean, it's only 100 of them. Why would you not have your team go visit them, send them something? Don't send an automated email, send one right from your own inbox. It's only 100 accounts. The automation at scale stuff happens when you're trying to get to thousands of people,
right?
Thousands of companies. That's where you really got to be careful, because if you lose the trust of a couple thousand at a time, then you're in bad shape. With 100, the benefit at least is you could take your time, eyeball everything, be very, methodical. I talk about this a lot, Lori. There's the concept of a hairpin turn in Formula One racing, where you kind of hit the brakes as you enter the turn, and then you slowly accelerate once you can see the other side.
Right.
You only have 100 accounts, like slow down in order to accelerate, right?
Love that.
Yeah. And we do that even for our team at scale. We're like looking at work all the time. We're looking at an opportunity to engage this audience in a very meaningful way at scale. Still doesn't mean speed is paramount. What is paramount is reaching them at the right message at the right time. So let's take a minute, get it right, and then accelerate.
Yeah. Thank you. That was an incredible visual too. And I'm going to be in Monaco at the end of October, so I'm going to go visit.
Lucky you.
Yeah, and take a look at that. Nonetheless, there's an interesting nuance here, and that's the sales teams. How are you aligning everything marketing is doing and the use of AI with your sales teams as well?
I mean, first of all, the easy answer is in lockstep. There is no light between us. What we're doing in marketing is being done in sales and vice versa, meaning our approach and our automation. And like, if we're going to do something new in marketing, we make sure everyone in sales understands it, and vice versa, I think. I'm pretty sure. And that's actually the benefit of an integrated revenue ops team that's independent. It's part of our ops function, not marketing or sales. So they're like the bridge that,
Got it.
We can keep our velocity and not lose sight of the fact that we might be doing things that don't help each other. Let's make sure we stop and do that. But I also think, there's an opportunity. What happens, I see this a lot with AI, and especially as applied to ABM or account-based marketing or account-based engagement programs, you get a lot of noise that's not signal.
Yeah.
And so a lot of what we're focused on is, let's not inundate our sales team with noise. Let's only give them signal. And so once again, there's technology that helps you filter the noise from the signal. And we're looking at all those things because the last thing we want to do is load up the sales team with a bunch of stuff that's not really relevant or useful or actionable right now. We want to give them the stuff that we believe is, the next best opportunity to be working on.
Yeah, we're closing out toward the end of the show here. I've got a few more questions regarding some of the challenges that you're facing along the way. What are some of the common mistakes that teams make when adding AI to ABM?
Again, I think it goes back to that cautionary tale, like thinking that it's going to handle the things that it won't.
Right.
Not doing the review and making sure that it's actually exactly what you expected it to do. Because there's a lot of hype. And so the noise can be louder than the signal. And I would just caution folks to take a look at the results and make sure that it is all the things you think it can be. Because if you execute against only 100 accounts and it's wrong, you're in bad shape.
We're seeing just the process just overcomplicating itself, and the people overcomplicating the process, right? And simplicity, we think, is key. Less is more is key. And when you try to to throw so much at it, you're better off implementing 2 or 3 tools at a time or 1 tool at a time instead of all 10, perfecting those 2 or 3, and then moving on to the next.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's like, what's the use case? What are you trying to solve? Use an AI to solve that particular problem, or try to. And if it doesn't solve it, then go move on to the next thing. But like, you're right. Like overwhelming is very easy to get to very quickly.
Yeah. What are the risks that you're seeing around data and compliance that marketers should be aware of?
I mean, the data hygiene issue is an issue for all time. I talk about this a lot with my team. It's like, this is a race we'll never finish. We're just going to keep running it. There's lots of really good technology that helps you with data hygiene. And there's even good technology that helps you with unknown or anonymous data hygiene, which, like, our B2B is a great example.
Yep.
Who is on my website. I think ultimately we're going to sound like a broken record, but fundamentals is our data as clean as it can be, because that informs how effective these campaigns and these efforts and these ABM initiatives are going to be. If it's all old and outdated, then we're shooting in the dark, and you don't want to be there.
This is an interesting issue that we've seen twice happen in the last few years regarding GDPR compliance and email, and the fine line between a sales individual emailing through a Salesforce, that getting connected to GDPR and then flagged. But yet it's just a sales back and forth conversation. It's not going into the email system yet. What are you seeing regarding that?
Yeah, I mean, this is why there's all these like outreach likes technology, right? They give you it looks like a personal email from a personal domain, and it gets around. Not you don't nobody's going to get around GDPR, but it ultimately does because it's not lumped into an IP that you've dedicated to the marketing automation system or email system. It works. I think it still doesn't bode well for the trust factor.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of what we're seeing is that the sales teams are bypassing the use of a Salesforce in this situation so that it doesn't get logged as email that could be non-compliant.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're doing that, you're just kicking the can down the road, right?
Exactly. You don't have the data that's needed with touch points that allows ultimately automation to work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we don't do that here, but I have heard of that, and it ultimately ends up in the same place, which is bad.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah, no, it's an issue.
Yeah.
This has been such an incredible conversation. So many tidbits, so much advice, great tools, by the way, that you've also shared. As you know, we launched Better at the beginning of the year, and we have the same question that we ask each and every one of our guests toward the tail end of our conversation. What's one thing that you've learned to be better at that's made a measurable difference in how you lead, work, and show up in your role?
Actually, I love this question. I've gotten better at deep diving into exactly what are we trying to do with this thing or that thing. But what leads that deep dive is listening.
Yeah.
I think no matter how good you are at what you do, no matter how long you've been doing this, your job is not to have the answers, it's to ask the right questions.
Right.
And yeah. And you have to listen. Like people will have answers. We have experts that know way more about this stuff than I do. So I just need to know the kind of questions to ask and then make sure we point at the right objectives we're trying to solve for, because we can it's a world, I think you said earlier, it's like a world full of distractions. We need to stay focused on what we're trying to do.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Nate, thank you so much. What's the best way for our audience to get in contact with you?
You can email me at nate.skinner@affinipay.com or find me on LinkedIn, Nate Skinner.
That's great. And if you'd like to get in contact with me, find me on LinkedIn as well, Lori Sartorius Jones. Nate, thank you so much for your appearance on StrategyCast.
Thank you for having me, Lori. It was awesome.
That's a wrap. Thanks for joining us on today's show. We hope your strategic brains are spinning with new ideas and bold inspiration that will elevate your strategies and marketing know-how.